You guys, welcome back to the channel. Happy Saturday. It's a little gloomy out there for a day in California. It's almost like stay in the house weather, but then it's kind of warm too at the same time. So we go back to our friends in China about a fortune billionaire. His stepfather cut him off. You heard me right, stepfather. So was it because it's not his actual bloodline? He didn't want to pass off the legacy to his stepson? Or was it for other reasons? Let's find out.
While promising his creditors he'd pay everything within 3 days, he was hit with a bombshell. His father wanted to cut ties. Shocked, he rushed to check the facts and discovered that the company was already officially in his sister's name.
Huge mind blow. Rule number 1, do not become a stepfather.
In other words, not only was he out of the company, but also out of the circle of trust. Indignant, he rushed back to Changsha to understand why his father was being so cruel. On the other side,
Oh, and I almost forgot. Shout out to All Asian Dilemmas. I'm going to leave the original link in the bio for those of you that aren't lazy.
Zhang Jishu, the adoptive father, calmly explained that, although not his biological son, he had treated him as such for 30 years, the same level of care, the same attention as his daughter.
You hear that? The same attention as his daughter. So when this new man comes in, the respect might not be the same. And you have to remember, not all the problems are going to be yours. So the stepfather is usually just the supporter. The stepfather is never respected. Just remember that. If you're about to be a stepfather, just know that you're not going to be respected.
The problem was that, throughout all this time, Zhengzhou kept his distance. He didn't show up for holidays, didn't get involved with the family, and
So, stepson's fault. It's the stepson's fault because he wasn't around during the important times. Family's important.
seemed to have a knack for disappearing when he didn't need anything. 3 decades earlier, Zheng Jishu had found the boy in a poor village. His biological parents were sick and unable to work. Moved by the situation, he adopted the youngest child.
So he had a heart. He took him in as if he was his own. And this is the payback that he gets. Now, if he would have played his cards right, he would have been well off.
He took care of him, bought him a car, bought him a house, and even agreed to support his 2 children for 20 years after one of the baby's mothers passed away.
Wow.
But despite all this, Zhengzhou only remembered he had parents when he needed money, treating his adoptive father like an ATM that never closes. Tired, the father decided to end the bond, but offered $2 million to ensure his grandchildren wouldn't be in need until they reached adulthood.
Wow. You see how he's just puffing back like a boss? Seemed like a genuine dude. But he wasn't taking no shit. So, I mean, even if he was his bloodline son, people cut off their bloodline, their flesh and blood all the time. So stepson, stepfather, it don't matter. Because even your flesh and blood gets cut off too sometimes.
The adopted son, however, the problem wasn't the offer, it was the lack of respect he felt. At 14, he dropped out of school and went to work in the family factory, but got into fights and found it humiliating to hold basic positions. The breaking point came when he was assaulted by co-workers and his father didn't take his side. To him, that was proof he had never been seen as the true heir. From then on, he never returned home. He tried to start his own business but only piled up debt. And when he finally considered asking for help, he discovered the company was in his sister's name and his father wanted a permanent break. In the father's view, already nearing 60 and thinking about retirement, it was only natural to pass the company to someone committed, and the daughter had been working there since graduation. The adopted son, on the other hand, had never been involved in the business. To Zhengzhou, that was favoritism. To the father, it was just business logic. And the adoptive mother, despite always trying to balance treatment between the two, knew that the adopted son had never overcome the emotional barrier of having no blood ties. The father summed it up. Zhengzhou is jealous, lazy, and complacent.
And see, a lot of trust fund babies behave just like that. Never around the family when they need to be. for special occasions, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all that. You don't come around unless you need something. And a lot of people are like this. But see, I know in Chinese culture, the youngsters are supposed to give elders money every now and then. But this is a different case though. This is between children and parents. So this is business.
He only thinks about getting money to live in the countryside, as if life were an eternal holiday paid for by someone else. Tired of waiting for change, he decided to end it. Before hearing all this, Jungjo believed it was only a matter of preference for the sister. But deep down, the father wanted him to be independent, to take on responsibilities as a man, a husband, and a father. Jungjo acknowledged that he wasn't capable of running the company, and admitted that his motivation had always been to prove he was important to his father, not necessarily to inherit the assets. Even so, he accepted the break. The mother tried to mediate, but the father, disappointed, wouldn't talk. As he left, Jungjo made a public promise. Even without the bond, he would never forget the 30 years of upbringing and would be...
Of course you ain't gonna forget about it. That's 30 years of your life wasted that you didn't have to do. You volunteered those 30 years. So that part I don't feel bad about. That was his fault. It's called choices. He didn't have to do that.
Be there if needed. When the reporter brought this message to the father, his tone softened. He said he had never truly abandoned the adopted son, but wanted to see him mature and take real responsibility.
Sitting back with his tea. With my mind on my money and my money on my mind. All right. Gangster.
In the end, despite having no blood ties, Jung Jishu had invested greatly in him, hoping to see him as a source of pride. But without communication and involvement, the relationship collapsed. The father still hopes he learns the lesson. In a family, you can't live forever as a guest in a 5-star hotel. There comes a time when you have to stop ordering room service and start walking.
Oh, so he was one of those. He wanted to live the glamorous life off of somebody else's dime. That is female behavior. So basically, the stepfather makes him sound like a high-class bum, which is common. There's a lot of high-class bums out there. And what I mean by a high-class bum is like you like nice things, but you can't support yourself to treat yourself to those nice things. So you take advantage of other things and other people to deal with your liking. So it's like, okay, sooner or later you're going to have to do some stuff for yourself.
Washing your own dishes. This story isn't just about a father and an adopted son cutting ties. It's about expectations, responsibilities, and that old illusion that family bonds with or without blood are unbreakable, no matter what. Jungjo had everything: a house, a car, support, and even the guarantee that his children would be taken care of.
That is not normal for somebody young to have all that before they even get out there in the real world and officially establish themselves. I don't even have that, but that's okay, because I'm already working on some great things. Nor do I need to tell the whole world. Like, you can't tell everybody everything, but it's like, I'm not entitled. I don't mind working. I'm not lazy, but I'm just saying he's well off. He started off well off as an adopted son. He took advantage of it. This is what happens when you live in the world of comfort. You take advantage of what you have, and in the wrong way.
But he confused being welcomed with having an automatic right to everything. He wanted the title of heir, but not the weight that comes with it. He wanted his father's respect, but without giving any reason to be respected. And here's the curious part. For 30 years, he watched his father build an empire. He could have learned the ropes. He could have gotten involved. He could have shown he deserved to be there.
Well, see, here's the thing about that, though. When you watch one of your parents build something, a lot of times the child doesn't want nothing to do with it. I mean, I'm not talking about a family restaurant and all that. A lot of times, whatever you're building, usually your offspring doesn't want nothing to do with it. That's normal. But at the same time, your offspring is already working on something great on their own, completely different from what you're doing. So a lot of times that's okay. But in this case, this guy didn't want to do anything. He was basically sitting back with his feet kicked up, not worried about nothing. And then next thing you know, Pops is cutting you off. Shit, I'm hoping my Pops don't cut me off. So he tripping.
But he chose to keep his distance. And when he finally decided to prove his worth, his grand achievement was building a mansion in the countryside with borrowed money. Yeah, not a...
So about that. So we all know city life is too expensive. So he wanted to live it up off of the countryside, off of the family business money. And he's just not having that.
exactly the resume of a successor, is it? The father, on the other hand, also made a mistake. He spent 3 decades trying to balance affection and responsibility, but never managed to break through the emotional barrier his son had put up between them. And when he realized it, he saw he was about to hand over everything he had worked for to someone who never cared to understand the business. That's when he hit the brakes.
So this is his breaking point. So he's pissed off that he wasted 30 years of his own time raising this boy, and he's not showing no respect, basically. I mean, it's a lot of this. This is not uncommon. So he's just not stupid enough to just let it happen. He knows not to give up everything he worked for over somebody that doesn't deserve it. But what if this was his wife, though, instead? Let's say his wife divorced him. He would have had to give it up for nothing anyway.
And honestly, this isn't about favoritism toward the daughter. It's about trusting what you've built to someone who is truly willing to keep it standing. Because in the end, inheritance isn't just money. It's values, commitment, history. And if a person doesn't inherit those, the rest just turns into a bank account that vanishes quickly. The most ironic part is that, in his own words, Jung-jo says he didn't want the assets he wanted to prove he was important to his father. But if your importance depends on a signed piece of paper, maybe it never really existed at all. And here's the hard truth that many people don't like to hear. Family is not a lifetime contract. If you don't nurture it, if you don't participate, if you only show up to ask for something, one day, the door will close.
Yep. Gone forever. And a lot of people don't understand that. And this goes for people that come from well-off families. It's like you take it for granted. You figure financially you'll always be secure. You don't have to work a job. The bank account, the money will just go quick. You're going to have money. It's like when you have that comfort strategy in your mind, you feel like you don't have to work hard. And what's going to happen is you're going to have more money going out than you do coming in. And if you don't watch it, the next thing you know, it's gone within the blink of an eye. So hopefully all the trust fund babies see this video, because you can get shut down any day. And this is more common towards like celebrities and their children. What's his name? Jackie Chan. He cut his children off. Speaking about Chinese culture, Chinese video, it makes sense, right? Anyway, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.